Good morning, everyone. We're talking with Catherine Klaus. She's director of co-innovation at Titletown Tech, a venture capital firm formed out of a partnership between Microsoft and the Green Bay Packers. She leads Titletown's presence at Microsoft's AI Co-Innovation Lab, which is focused on manufacturing. Catherine was previously senior manager for transformative innovation at Kohler Company, and before that was at Pierce Manufacturing, the Oshkosh Corp subsidiary that makes fire and rescue vehicles and other equipment. Catherine has an MBA from University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh and a BS in mechanical engineering mechanics from University of Wisconsin-Madison. Catherine, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thrilled to be here, Kathleen. Thanks.
For starters, just give us a short summary of Titletown Tech and its relationship with Microsoft.
Yeah. So you said, Titletown Tech is a venture capital firm formed out of a partnership with Microsoft and the Green Bay Packers, an introduction that you yourself made, Kathleen, between the two organizations. So we were established back in 2019 with both organizations as our anchor investors, if you will. So for those of you who are less familiar with venture capital is a type of business where we deploy funds into startups. And the funds, in our case, our investors are corporations. And the history between us and Microsoft was, Microsoft was really trying to bridge the technological divide between the two coasts of the United States and also help, stimulate economic development and technological capability in what some people might call like the flyover states, for example. And when Titletown Tech got established, we really acted as an extension of that mission to bridge that divide. We are not a nonprofit organization. We are a for-profit venture capital firm, and that was the expectation from Microsoft from the beginning. We have a technologist in residence, so a Microsoft employee that sits with our team here in Green Bay. And that is, symbolic of the relationship and partnership that we have with Microsoft. And we've done two funds in our venture capital side. So a $25 million fund that's fully deployed, and we're in the process of deploying our second fund, which is a $70 million fund, of which Microsoft was an investor in both of those. So we have $95 million under management. And recently, we deepened our partnership with Microsoft by becoming one of the official partners for their Sixth in the World AI Co-Innovation Lab that I know we'll talk more about.
Yeah, so that Co-Innovation Lab, the only Microsoft sixth in the world, only its third in the US. The lab is physically located at University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee in the school's Connected Systems Institute. Tell us about what the lab does.
Yeah, so it really, their tagline, Microsoft's tagline is accelerate your AI projects with working hand in hand with Microsoft experts. And what that really means is the lab itself is, well, first, let me kind of explain a little bit why it's unique, Kathleen, because you say it's sixth in the world, but really our lab is different than any of the other models that have been established in that it's a unique ecosystem and partnership. You mentioned that it's on the Connected Systems in the Connected Systems Institute on the UW Milwaukee campus. It's the first time that they've ever established a lab on a university campus. Also, the two official partners that support it help us reach the ecosystem of Wisconsin. And so what the lab actually does is we help bridge really meaningful problem statements in businesses with the emergent technology, generative AI. And it's not just generative AI that we focus on. We will look at other things under the AI umbrella, but our focus is generative AI. And for those who, varying parts of understanding of AI, yes, that means LLM, but we do much more than chatbots. But essentially, when we engage with a company from a Titletown Tech standpoint, we're being in the venture space, we understand innovation deeply. And so we help people navigate the process to get from core insight and that problem statement that they really need to solve for to scoping out what the actual custom bespoke AI solution is that they want to build for their own organization. So we're not talking about helping people adopt or implement, necessarily the co-pilot technology. That's different parts of Microsoft that do that. What we focus in on is what makes a company truly unique. What are the things that they really can't probably solve with an off-the-shelf solution, and that they want to be able to build and control the primary architecture of what's being built to satisfy unique processes within their business. And we help them over the course of a couple of months of preparation, and then a 3 to 5 day prototyping session. They walk out with a working prototype of their AI solution to take into the business and deploy it.
And there's a staff in the AI Co-Innovation Lab in Milwaukee, but the participants, the companies that come into the AI lab are able to access other Microsoft resources, right?
Yeah, so there's a team of 5 down in the lab, 4 engineers and the lab manager, Juliana Jabor. And so that is like the immediate team. In some cases, when we do have unique instances, we might phone a friend, right, that is within Microsoft. Although a lot of times we do keep it concentrated to that team and the engineers that are there and experts in cutting edge. It's interesting because when I say cutting edge, what I mean, I truly mean that. Sometimes we're working with prototypes that are leveraging like a beta version of what Microsoft is going to be releasing. And so that people are getting access to cutting edge capability. And it's really exciting that we're able to kind of provide that at the front line. One thing I didn't mention is this lab is also focused on the manufacturing industry. When I say focused, not exclusive, which means we like 50% or more of the use cases that are coming through to be supportive of a manufacturer. And that can be supply chain use cases, that can be actual production, like on the floor use cases, that can be their product development, things that make manufacturers unique. Those are the types of things that we're looking to help with.
What's your role in the lab? I mean, you're employed by Titletown Tech, but
Yep.
what do you do for the lab?
So we really act as that translator between problem statement and actual solution. So, I've heard this phrase, I'll quote, one of the people that we were working with, they said, we're great at doing this, making these types of parts or making these types of products. And we want to continue being great at that. We don't want to have to become experts in AI. So they're experts in what they know their challenges are for their business, and they're experts in executing their business. And we help them translate. So from a Titletown Tech perspective, we explore those problem statements and then help them find the language to articulate to a technical team within Microsoft what it is that they want to build. And so our role is that translation role. Our role is scoping and helping scope out, successful use cases that will get into the lab. We always like to say to people that our goal at Titletown Tech is that 100% of the companies we nominate to the lab will get accepted. And so far that's been the case. So that's really, we prepare them for success, and then we stay along with them for the journey. So when Microsoft takes over, that's usually a 6 to 8 week process of technical preparation and then the actual prototyping session. And Microsoft runs, that portion of it. Of course, this is the Microsoft lab. We stay connected the entire time, making sure that there's full understanding between what's trying to be solved and the solution that's being developed, and really acting kind of as that bridge the entire time. So
I have more questions to ask, but if anyone has questions, please either put them in the chat or put them in the chat. And if you want to come in and join this conversation, I'd be happy to spotlight you to ask your question. How much does it cost to participate in the lab?
Yeah, it's free to participate in the lab, and that doesn't mean that it's not a valuable. It's sponsored, is what I should say. When Microsoft established so a year ago is when they announced their $3.3 billion investment in the state of Wisconsin to establish their state-of-the-art data center. Truly, it's going to be. Their vision is that it's going to be the best data center in the world here in Racine. And when they said that they were coming to the state to become a citizen of Wisconsin, they wanted to bring some of this programming to also be additive to the economy here beyond their data center. And so they brought this lab. They brought also upskilling and reskilling, but that is a sponsored program to make sure that companies can leverage it. Now, I will say, when you go through and build a prototype, and let me be more specific, because oftentimes when I'm working with people who make physical things, prototype, you think of like that physical widget, that is a proof of concept. It's the same type of thing in a digital standpoint. And just like if you were making a physical prototype of a product or something like that, all of the raw material that goes into it has a cost. The same is the case for when you build a digital prototype. There's a architecture or a stack of technology that you use and you piece together like Lego pieces. And it's not expensive, but as you build that prototype and use some of the compute that's required for your solution, that does have a cost. That does have a cost associated, but minimal. As you then scale your prototype, so like if you were developing a physical product, you would take that prototype and actually make it fully production ready, in which case it's actually running in the full business. And in that process, as you scale it, and that you do after the lab, that's not part of the scope of the lab. There's compute associated with that, and the Microsoft team helps you understand, kind of how that goes. So there's no cost or service fee. It's just what you build is yours, you own it, all of the IP, everything associated with it, and then we'll carry the cost of what it takes to actually run it in your business.
Lakshmi from Indiana University has a question. Lakshmi, if you want to show yourself, I'll pull you up. Otherwise, I'll ask it. I can't pull it.
Hi, good morning. I
Morning.
was wondering how projects are selected for the lab, and is this just concentrated to Wisconsin or outside as well?
Sure. So projects are usually, it starts with a conversation like this, where we talk about the lab, and then we can arrange a more one-to-one conversation. But we do select them based on conversations and assessing what you're trying to solve for. And so if there's an interest, I can make sure that I'm providing my email, Kathleen, to the group after this.
We'll share contact info after the session.
Yeah.
Everyone will get everyone's email. So,
but that's really, because it is such a bespoke process, and every company is different, and every institution is different, and what they're trying to sell. We start it with a conversation, and then we go from there. Every company that we've ever started a conversation with looking to build AI, we have found the right type of problem statement for the lab. So we do make sure that we're invested in finding that niche, not the niche, but the really important problem statement to be going for.
Is it limited to Wisconsin?
It's not limited to Wisconsin. Thank you. I was just about to. So it's not limited to Wisconsin. Of course, we want it to be tied to kind of core economic drivers of Wisconsin. And so the problem statements that we take, that's why manufacturing is one of the focuses, but we've also done agri-tech. We've done, we're doing a dairy company at the moment. And so we've done a lot of other types of use cases as well, not limited to Wisconsin.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lakshmi. Do you, could you give us an example? Well, but first I want to ask, can startups participate in the lab?
Yes, we've done several startups already, including, some of our portfolio companies. Actually, this week, we have a prototype going on with one of our portfolio companies at Titletown Tech, but it doesn't have to be a portfolio company of Titletown Tech to go through. So yes, we love working with startups. We love working with all different types, but we've had a really successful use case with a startup of ours, Renaissance, which works on supply chain kind of problem statements, and they really took quite a good amount of advantage of the lab and built a very cool tool. So we love working with startups.
And maybe you could give us an example, you just did kind of, but someone who came into the lab and what they worked on and what they got out of it.
Yeah, so let me I'll give a startup example. If I go quick, maybe I'll give two, because we get different types of problem statements. But Renaissance, for example, they focus on for supply chain gate management, gate and yard management. And that means like when a truck driver shows up to deliver a load of trucks or a load of supplies to a manufacturer, there's a lot of conversation that happens between the truck driver checking in at the gate, getting to the warehouse, and communicating effectively in order to actually deliver the load or pick up what they need to be picking up. Actually, only about, I think, the majority of truck drivers don't speak English. A lot of it is Russian. And so this was a huge challenge statement for Renaissance, which already worked on that type of process of yard management. And they built a solution in the Azure platform that in real time translates whatever native language the truck driver is speaking, ties it into the actual systems to automate, like when they say, I'm here with truckload, da, 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 in whatever language they're speaking. First of all, it's spoken, not an app, so it's safer. They're driving a huge truck, so we don't want them taking their eyes off the road or having to park and clog up, roads or parking lots. And so it's safer, and in real time, then they get the response back in their native language, where to go. and all of this, which that might sound simple, and that means it was done well, but it was actually a very technologically complex solution that was already built on top of Renaissance AI platform. So that's an example of a really successful, and you can expect to see more storytelling coming out on that use case in particular.
And
And
can I say, you mentioned they built it on the Azure platform, and that is one requirement, right? That, I mean,
yeah.
that it's free, but you have to build it on Microsoft's platform.
Yeah, so you're working with Microsoft technology experts, and they're experts in Azure, which is the cloud for Microsoft. And so actually, in this case, the developer who did the solution for Renaissance had cut his teeth and built his career in working with AWS, which is Amazon's cloud. So this was him leveraging a new cloud platform to kind of build the solution, and he was very glad to have done so. So yes, you're right, Kathleen. That's a good call out. That is one of the requirements. And so another one, like I'll use the example of something that we have actually seen commonly for a manufacturer, a mature manufacturer, is when a company needs to, when a company builds a custom product, and it could be very technologically complex, many different types of options, pieces, parts. When a customer comes to them and says, I need what you make, but I need this configuration, sometimes those specifications can be hundreds of pages long. And it's really labor intensive for a company and the people in the company, the subject matter experts, to review those documents and be able to decipher, what is kind of off the shelf, we do this all the time, and what is really special about this, and what can't we do on this specification. And so we helped Century Equipment build their manufacturer out of Oconomowoc that makes custom sampling equipment for manufacturing processes. They built this custom request for quote bot, if you will. And so you can put in these really technological or technical specific specifications that customers are sending, and have it with rules that they had to provide of, this is just boilerplate information, this is standard options, and here's what we need to flag, these anomalies in this, so that our people can review this more effectively and efficiently. We built that solution, and they came into the lab prototyped with their own engineers, and completed. They were actually one of our first that kind of came through, and it was an awesome experience. And it inspired us to go on to make that particular solution available to a wider audience as well.
So we only have a few minutes left. I just want to clarify, if someone is interested in working with the lab, they could contact you, and then what happens?
Yeah, from there, we really kind of help understand what is the readiness of the company. We walk people, through the discussion of what problem statements they want to be solving for. One thing that, is important to know is, when you go through the lab, this isn't a code for program. This is a code with, or build with, which means that the people who actually participate in the prototyping session, you have to bring your own team members. And, not every company has computer science engineers on staff, but we've worked with other companies that even somebody who was coding the CNC machines in a manufacturer had enough coding background that they could run in the Azure with the engineer's help, could build. And so you always have to have the person who really understands the problem set and knows what a quality output is going to be. And then you have to have the person who's actually going to be building the code. And in some cases, companies choose to hire that developer to come along through the lab with them. But that's what to expect is, you meet with us, we help you pick your problem statement. We help you frame that out in a scoping document. We submit that nomination to Microsoft, and from there, Microsoft will help you, the company, build the solution and the prototype. And you get to maintain all of your ownership of the IP along the way.
Well, and what's great is that it's not just, sorry, I was distracted because there was a question in the chat.
Sure.
Are students involved at all from UWM?
Currently not, but we're looking into ways that we can get them involved.
Yeah, yeah. What's neat about it is you're not just filling out an application and sending it into the ether. You work with people on their application.
Yes, we do. Yeah, yes, we do. Absolutely.
What a great resource. We have, a lot of tech transfer offices from Midwest universities in our network. And what a great resource for them to be able to make startups aware of this.
Yeah, startups And, we're in one case, we are working with a university research team. So they're not yet a startup. Maybe one day what they're building will become a startup, but we're actually helping them build in the Azure platform, which is not something they would have done. And it's a really nice, it's a material discovery example. So it's a very scientific application as well. So keep that in mind too.
Well, it's an amazing resource for our region. Thanks for sharing information about it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yep. Thanks, Catherine.